You're cornered in a hardware store, surrounded by hundreds of potential weapons, and a horde of the undead is smashing through the front windows. You've got maybe 30 seconds to grab something, anything, before they pour through. So what do you reach for? If your answer is a chainsaw, a samurai sword, or pretty much anything you've seen in the movies, congratulations, you've just signed your own death warrant. Let's start at number 10 and work our way down to the absolute worst weapon you could possibly choose. Number 10, the chainsaw. Let's address the elephant in the room right away. The chainsaw, the iconic zombie killing tool that shows up in every horror movie and video game. It's loud, it's brutal, it looks incredibly badass, and it will absolutely get you killed. Here's the reality check. Chainsaws are heavy. A standard gas-powered chainsaw weighs between 15 and 20 pounds, and that's before you factor in the fuel you'll need to carry. You know what happens when you're swinging around 20 pounds of machinery while trying to fight off multiple attackers? You get exhausted in about 2 minutes, your arms start shaking, your grip loosens, and suddenly that roaring death machine becomes a liability. But the weight is just the beginning of your problems. Chainsaws are loud. We're talking about 100 to 120 decibels of pure noise pollution. That's equivalent to standing next to a jet engine. Every zombie within half a mile is going to hear that sound and come running. You might take down 3 or 4 zombies before you're dealing with 30. Then there's the maintenance nightmare. Chainsaws need fuel, oil, a properly tensioned chain, and regular cleaning. In an apocalypse scenario, you're not going to have access to 2-stroke engine oil or replacement chains. And here's the kicker. The second you hit bone, which you will because you're aiming for heads, that chain is going to dull fast. A dull chainsaw doesn't cut. It tears and catches and jams. Imagine your weapon getting stuck in a zombie's skull while 5 more are grabbing at you from behind. Plus, let's talk about the blood splatter. You're creating a high-velocity spray of infected blood, bone fragments, and tissue that's coating your face, getting in your eyes, your mouth, any open wounds. You're essentially giving yourself a zombie smoothie facial with every kill. Number 9, the baseball bat. I can already hear the objections. But everyone uses baseball bats. They're reliable, they never run out of ammo. Sure, they're everywhere. And yes, they seem like the perfect blunt weapon. But here's what nobody tells you about using a baseball bat against reanimated corpses. First, let's talk about physics. A zombie's skull is still a human skull. It's actually tougher than you think. You need to generate serious force to crack through bone and destroy the brain tissue underneath. That means a full, proper baseball swing every single time. Try taking 50 full-power swings. In your backyard right now, your shoulders will be screaming by swing 20. But here's the real problem. Baseball bats need space. You need room for a proper swing, distance between you and your target, and a clear arc with no obstructions. You know where you won't have any of that? Hallways, stairwells, inside cars, small rooms. Basically any enclosed space where you're likely to encounter zombies. You'll wind up for a big swing and smack the bat against a wall or doorframe, leaving yourself completely exposed. And wooden bats? They break. Not might break, they will break. Maybe not on the first zombie, maybe not on the 5th, but eventually you're going to hit at the wrong angle or hit the same spot twice, and that bat is going to split down the middle. Now you're holding a wooden stake, which brings us to an entirely different set of problems. Even metal bats have issues. They dent, they bend, and worst of all, they get sticky. After your 3rd or 4th kill, that bat is covered in blood, bits of scalp, and brain matter. Your grip starts slipping. The bat gets heavier as gore accumulates, and that smooth aluminum surface becomes a slippery nightmare. Number 8, throwing knives. This one sounds tactical, right? Keep your distance, silent kills, and if you're skilled enough, you can take out zombies from a safe range. Hollywood makes it look so easy. One throw, right between the eyes, zombie drops. Reality is brutally different. First, let's address the obvious. Throwing knives require incredible skill to use effectively. We're not talking about hitting a stationary target on a wooden board in your garage. We're talking about hitting a moving, unpredictable target in the exact right spot, the brain, while you're probably exhausted, terrified, and dealing with multiple threats. The margin for error is essentially 0. But let's say you're some kind of knife-throwing prodigy. You still have a massive problem: retrieval. Every knife you throw is a knife you have to go retrieve if you want to use it again. That means walking up to the zombie you just killed, putting yourself in close proximity to any other zombies in the area, and yanking your knife out of a skull. If you missed the brain and only wounded it, congratulations. You're now in grabbing range of an angry zombie while you're trying to pull your weapon free. And here's the mathematical nightmare. If you're carrying a dozen throwing knives, you've got 12 shots before you're completely unarmed. 12 zombies, assuming every single throw is perfect. In a real scenario, you'll be lucky if half your throws land effectively. That means 6 zombies down, and now you're defenseless with half a dozen knives scattered around a swarm of undead. The physics don't help either. A thrown knife doesn't have the same penetrating power as a direct stab. You're relying on momentum and the initial impact, but a zombie's skull is dense. Unless you've got superhuman throwing strength, many of your knives are going to bounce off or stick into soft tissue without reaching the brain. Number 7. Nunchucks. Oh boy, here we go. Someone watched too much Bruce Lee and thought, you know what would make me unstoppable in the zombie apocalypse? Nunchucks. Let me be very clear. Nunchucks are one of the worst possible weapons you could choose, and I'm not exaggerating even a little bit. First, nunchucks require extensive training to use without hospitalizing yourself. That's not an exaggeration. Most people who pick up nunchucks for the first time end up hitting themselves in the face, ribs, or other sensitive areas within the first 60 seconds. Now imagine trying to use them in a high-stress, life-or-death situation while zombies are lunging at you. You're more likely to knock yourself unconscious than kill a single zombie. But let's pretend you're a nunchuck master who's been training for years. You still have a critical problem. Nunchucks are impact weapons with limited striking force. They're designed to hit pressure points and vulnerable areas on a living, feeling opponent who will react to pain. Zombies don't feel pain. They don't flinch. They don't stop coming because you landed a solid hit to the ribs or the jaw. If you're enjoying this countdown of deadly mistakes, do me a solid and hit that like button and subscribe. To kill a zombie with nunchucks, you need to absolutely demolish the skull, and that requires multiple perfect hits to the exact same area. Good luck maintaining that precision while backing away from multiple attackers. 1 zombie? Maybe, if you're incredibly skilled and lucky. 3 zombies? You're dead. And here's the final nail in the coffin. Range. Nunchucks have terrible range. You're essentially in grabbing distance the entire time you're trying to use them. One mistake, one missed swing, and a zombie has its hands on you. Game over. Number 6. The flamethrower. This is where we get into the really catastrophic choices. A flamethrower sounds amazing in theory. Keep zombies at a distance, eliminate multiple targets at once, and there's something primal and satisfying about using fire as a weapon. In practice, it's an absolute nightmare that could get entire groups of survivors killed. Let's start with the obvious problem. Burning zombies don't die instantly. They're not going to collapse the second the flames touch them like movie zombies. Real fire takes time to cause enough damage to stop a body from functioning. That means you've just created a walking, flaming zombie that's still trying to grab you and now has the added bonus of setting everything it touches on fire, including you. Imagine you're in a building. Maybe you're fortified in a house or hiding in a shopping mall. You use a flamethrower on the zombies trying to break in. Congratulations, you've now set your own building on fire. Wood ignites, curtains catch, and within minutes you're dealing with a structure fire on top of a zombie attack. Now you have to choose between burning alive or running outside into the horde. The fuel consumption is insane too. Military flamethrowers carry enough fuel for about 10 seconds of continuous fire. 10 seconds. That's barely enough to properly immolate 3 or 4 zombies, and you're lugging around a heavy tank of highly flammable liquid on your back. One stray bullet, one piece of shrapnel, one unfortunate accident, and you're a human fireball. And let's talk about the smell and the smoke. Burning flesh creates thick, toxic smoke that will choke you, reduce your visibility to almost nothing, and announce your position to every zombie in the area. You can't see, you can't breathe, and you're surrounded by flaming corpses that are still mobile for the next several minutes. Number 5, the bow and arrow. I know this one is controversial. Bows are quiet, arrows are reusable, and it seems like the perfect survival weapon. But here's the hard truth. For zombie combat specifically, bows are horribly ineffective unless you're a world-class archer with unlimited arrows and perfect conditions. The fundamental problem is shot placement. To kill a zombie with a bow, you need a headshot. A precise headshot that penetrates the skull and destroys enough brain tissue to stop the zombie. That's an incredibly difficult shot even under ideal conditions. Zombies don't stand still. They lurch, they move erratically, and they're often coming at you in groups. Your target is roughly the size of a cantaloupe, and it's bobbing and weaving while moving towards you. Miss that headshot, which you will repeatedly, and you've just wasted an arrow on a body shot that does nothing. Sure, arrows are technically reusable, but good luck retrieving an arrow from a zombie that's still moving and surrounded by 20 of its friends. And arrows that do penetrate bone often snap or become unusable. Then there's the draw weight issue. A bow powerful enough to reliably penetrate a human skull requires significant strength to draw and hold. You need at least 50 to 60 pounds of draw weight, and maintaining that while aiming at a moving target is exhausting. After a dozen shots, your arms are shaking so badly you couldn't hit a stationary target at 10 feet. The rate of fire is abysmal too. Even a skilled archer needs 3 to 5 seconds between shots. A zombie can cover a lot of ground in that time. If you're facing multiple zombies, which you will be, the math becomes deadly. You might take down 2 or 3 before the rest are on top of you. Number 4, the katana, or any sword. This is the one that's going to upset people. Katanas are iconic. They're beautiful, they're deadly, they look incredible, and they've been fetishized in zombie media for years. They're also wildly impractical weapons that require elite-level skill to use effectively, and even then, they're a terrible choice for sustained zombie combat. Real katanas are not lightsabers. They don't slice through bone like butter. The human neck is tougher than you think. It's got vertebrae, thick muscles, and tendons. A clean decapitation requires a perfect angle, perfect edge alignment, significant force, and a razor-sharp blade. Get any of those factors wrong, and your sword gets stuck halfway through. Now you're trying to wrestle your weapon free while other zombies are closing in. And katanas dull fast, really fast. Bone is incredibly hard on blades. After 5 or 6 cuts through bone, that legendary sharp edge is noticeably degraded. By 15 or 20 kills, you're basically swinging around an expensive metal bat. You need whetstones, proper technique, and time to maintain a sword, none of which you'll have in an apocalypse scenario. The technique required is another massive barrier. Effective sword work takes years of training. It's not intuitive. Swing wrong and you'll bounce off bone, or worse, the blade will turn in your hands and you'll hit with the flat instead of the edge. Poor form leads to exhausted muscles within minutes. Swords are also terrible in confined spaces. You need room for proper cuts, clear space around you, and good footwork. Try using a 3-foot blade in a narrow hallway or inside a car. It's impossible. And if you're in close quarters with multiple zombies, that length becomes a liability. You can't maneuver fast enough. Number 3, dual-wielding pistols. This is pure Hollywood fantasy that will get you killed faster than almost anything else on this list. Dual-wielding pistols, holding a gun in each hand and firing simultaneously, is not just impractical, it's actively stupid in a real combat scenario. Here's the reality. Firing accurately with one handgun is difficult enough. You need proper stance, grip, sight alignment, trigger control, and breath control. Now try doing that with your non-dominant hand. Your accuracy drops to maybe 20% at best, and that's at a stationary range target. Against moving zombies while you're stressed and terrified, you might as well be throwing the bullets. But accuracy isn't even the main problem. The real killer is reloading. When you empty both guns, which happens fast, you now need to reload both simultaneously, except you can't. You need your hands to manipulate magazines, clear jams, and operate the slide. That means holstering one gun, reloading it, then doing the same with the second. Guess what's happening while you're fumbling with magazines? Zombies are closing the distance. You're also burning through ammunition at twice the rate with half the effectiveness. You've got maybe 30 rounds total if you're carrying standard magazines, and you're spraying them wildly with terrible accuracy. You'll run dry in under a minute with maybe 3 dead zombies to show for it. The recoil management is impossible too. Each gun kicks independently, throwing off your aim for the next shot. You can't maintain any kind of sight picture. You're not absorbing recoil properly, and you certainly can't track multiple targets effectively. You're essentially just making loud noises and wasting ammo. Number 2, the frying pan. I know what you're thinking. Who would choose a frying pan as their primary weapon? But here's the thing. In a panic situation, people grab what's nearby, and frying pans seem solid, heavy, and weapon-like. They show up in zombie media as improvised weapons all the time. They're also absolutely terrible for actual combat. Cast iron frying pans are heavy, but that weight isn't distributed properly for use as a weapon. The handle is narrow, the pan itself is awkward to swing, and the balance is all wrong. After 5 or 6 swings, your wrist is screaming because you're fighting against the physics of a tool designed for cooking, not combat. The striking surface is also problematic. Sure, it's flat and solid, but it's also smooth. When you hit something, you're dealing with a glancing blow half the time. There's no focused impact point like you'd get with a hammer or a bat. You need multiple hits to crack a skull, and each hit is less effective than it should be because the force is distributed across the entire pan surface. And frying pans, especially cast iron ones, are brittle. They can crack or shatter if you hit at the wrong angle or strike something hard enough. One good impact against a skull at the wrong spot, and you're holding a handle attached to 3 pieces of broken metal. The weight becomes a serious liability over time too. A good cast iron skillet weighs 8 to 10 pounds. Try holding that extended in one hand while running, climbing, or doing anything other than standing still. Your forearm will give out, and unlike a proper weapon, there's no comfortable way to carry it when you're not using it. It's just an awkward, heavy object you're stuck with. Number 1, the grenade. And here we are, the absolute worst weapon you could possibly use against zombies. Grenades. Whether it's fragmentation grenades, pipe bombs, or any other explosive device, using them against zombies is catastrophically stupid, and I cannot emphasize this enough. Let's start with the obvious. Grenades are indiscriminate. When that thing goes off, it doesn't carefully target zombie heads. It sends shrapnel flying in every direction, destroying everything within the kill radius. That includes walls, windows, structural supports, and most importantly, you. Unless you've got significant distance and solid cover, you're catching shrapnel too. But even if you do have cover, here's the problem. Grenades don't reliably kill zombies. A grenade kills living humans through shrapnel and overpressure that causes internal damage. Zombies don't have functioning circulatory systems to hemorrhage from. They don't have organs that can be pulped by overpressure. Unless you destroy the brain, they keep coming. And a grenade's shrapnel is random. It might hit the head, it might not. So what you've actually accomplished is creating several damaged zombies with missing limbs who are now even more unpredictable and harder to see coming. That legless zombie crawling towards you isn't dead. It's just lower to the ground and harder to spot. Then there's the noise. A grenade explosion is one of the loudest sounds you can make. We're talking about 170 to 180 decibels, loud enough to cause permanent hearing damage and announce your location to every zombie within miles. You've just rang the dinner bell for hundreds of undead. And let's talk about collateral damage. You're using explosives in an urban environment filled with gas lines, ammunition stores, fuel depots, and structural weak points. One grenade could start a chain reaction that brings down an entire building, ruptures gas mains, or triggers secondary explosions. You might kill 5 zombies and inadvertently destroy your own shelter and supplies. The final problem? Once you throw that grenade, you can't take it back. There's no undo button. If you've miscalculated the distance, if there are survivors nearby you didn't see, if the explosion causes a structural collapse, tough luck. You've just made an irreversible decision that could kill innocent people or trap yourself. So there you have it. 10 weapons that seem perfect, but are actually death traps waiting to happen. The lesson here isn't that you should be unarmed. It's that the best zombie weapons are boring, practical, and nothing like what you see in movies. Give me a solid crowbar, a reliable spear, or a simple hammer over any of these flashy disasters any day of the week, because in a real apocalypse, boring and effective beats cool and deadly, at least when the deadly part applies to you and not the zombies.